Yeah, guys, so like I was saying in the last clip, the popes in Rome, Italy, ended up moving their courts from Rome in Italy to Avignon in France. Yeah, when they moved their courts to France, the French, or Franks I should say, because it's not France as in France yet, it's still the Frankish kingdom up to the 10th century, and here we're talking about 799 BC, so they're still known as the Franks rather than the French. But the Franks, yeah, are not the same stock of people that you identify as French today. The Franks had dark pigmented skin. You could say they were Moorish, okay, just like the Vikings were described, and certain Romans, Spaniards, French, they were all swarthy complexioned, okay. So in this time, these swarthy complexioned Franks started fighting against invaders that today we call the French, okay. But in that time, the French came out on top and the Kingdom of France was started, right? These French families, the nobilities in these French families started to provide protection for the Pope who had moved his court to France, okay? Figures like Charlemagne the Great of France protected the Pope, yeah? Well, the Pope was seeking his protection and protection from persons such as himself. The deal was that he was supposed to travel with the Pope back to Italy, to Paderborn, yeah, where there would be some kind of deal where the Pope would crown his son Otto, yeah, the next Pope after the Pope died. But what the Pope did is, when Charlemagne bowed his head for prayer, thinking that the Pope's going to put the crown on his son's head, the Pope put the crown on Charlemagne's head and made Charlemagne the Holy Roman Empire, okay? So that's when the Holy Roman Empire was running from France, and it happened more than once. Here we're talking about 799 BC. It also happened in the 1300s BC, and a couple other times where the popes and them had to run off from the chaos that's happening in Italy, because the Roman Empire has been sacked by Vandals and Goths, which means albino people. The real black Roman Empire fled to the east and raised itself again in the form of Byzantium, or Byzantine, the Eastern Roman Empire. So when we're talking about Charlemagne and the popes moving their court to France, here I'm talking about false popes who are doing their own thing. So now you've got two popes at the same time. You've got the Western Holy Roman Empire that's running by, because now Charlemagne's the Pope, yeah? So he's the Pope of the Holy Roman Western Empire. And then you got folks like Justinian I to the east in Anatolia or Turkey, yeah, running from the kingdom called Byzantine with its capital city Constantinople, okay? Now, in the time of Charlemagne, yeah, certain families, certain aristocracies in France get massive, they get more powerful and stuff, and so you have the Carolingian Empire that's coming from Charlemagne. When that dies out, other nobles who are now around Charlemagne and them in France, they become more powerful, and so they start to access land and money and power. So you have a new empire being formed after the Carolingian Empire finishes. That's directly from Charlemagne. Now you get from the aristocracies what's called the Angevin Empire, yeah, and the Angevin Empire stretches it's not only in France, it stretches over into Holland, into Britain, England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. They're owning lands all over the place. They're making claims as far as Jerusalem. Here, out of this Angevin Empire, we get the Anjou, the family of Anjou. Over here we can say Plantagenets, yeah, the Plantagenet kings, or the French kings that came from France, yeah, from the region of Anjou and came over into England and became kings, yeah. You get kings like John Lackland, yeah, King John Lackland, King Edward I, King Henry II, all the way up to Henry VII. Do you understand? Richard I, the Lionheart, Richard III from the Bottle of Bosworth that's just down the road. So all of these kings now that are now kings of England really come from France and from the time where they were protecting Charlemagne, yeah. And notice what I've said. So now you've got a mix. There's a lot of mongrelized mixing going on in France now between the previous Franks with the dark complexion, swarthy complexion, and now you've got incoming what we call in French people today, or Mzungu people today. You understand? So even up to the 16th century, France was still very, very swarthy, just like Scotland, where you trace it all the way back to Kenneth the Black. And I want to make note as well that all of these European cities were pretty swarthy, whether you're talking about the Swedes, whether you're talking about Germany, yeah, obviously Prussia was in Germany too. We just mentioned the French, yeah, the Welsh with the Wendish people, the Vikings who are called 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐿, or black dark-skinned sea raiders, yeah. All of this area of Europe was peopled by swarthy complexion, Moorish people, and that history has been taken out of the official history books and hidden, and we've been given a false story which is called official history or conventional history, and they're teaching that to your children still up to this day as if it's based in reality. It has no basis in reality. It's just a story made up by colonizers to put white supremacy in position, so you feel that you've always been a slave, and any black person you see anywhere in the world, they came there on a boat from Africa, and that's false knowledge. And remember, we in the age of knowing now, we got people like 𝐉𝐄𝐄𝐿𝐿 here on the front line to give you the facts. We no longer need to listen to these Mzungu scholars. The only thing they should be telling us is vocational stuff, how to fix this gate. They're not supposed to be telling me about God. They're not supposed to be telling me about religion. They're not supposed to be telling me about history. They're not allowed to tell me about humanity. All of them type of stuff, they're not allowed to teach anybody about that. They should stick to teaching people vocational stuff, like to how to make a table, woodwork, stuff like that. You understand? Because they can't be trusted, and it's proven in their own book. Yeah, turn to John chapter 8 verse 44. John chapter 8 verse 44, and then go and read Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9, and know that you are the real Israelite and you are the real Kemetic, and it's more or less the same thing. There's no difference. They put the divide in that. Namaste. Peace.